You have arrived to the Plunge Into Prosperity podcast, where sacred wisdom meets regenerative wealth. I'm your host, Brandi Kolosky of Sacral Capital. Now let's plunge in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Plunge Into Prosperity. Today, I'm here with Brandi Kolosky, our host of the podcast. But just for one day today, for the inaugural episode, I get to host and interview Brandi. So, Brandi will be answering some questions for us today. And just to start off the podcast, for anyone who's new here, Brandi, please tell us, for our new listeners, why should they keep listening to Plunge Into Prosperity today?
They should keep listening because there's just a breadth of wisdom and knowledge, not just from myself, but also from you, and also continuing to listen to us regarding different topics from managing wealth, diversification, investing, what trending topics are happening in the market, and where we're going to take this from a stewardship of capital, being a steward of prosperity of our own lives and our journeys and how we got there, and regenerative wealth, and you name it, in the whole world of prosperity. So I'm ready to plunge in with you.
That's really incredible. I'm really excited for our viewers to learn more about this, and also for me to share a little bit about what I've been learning from you all these weeks. My second question for you, in the essence of this podcast about finding your own version of prosperity, how have you found what prosperity means to you, and then plunged into it throughout your journey?
Yes. So my version of prosperity and how I plunged into it, I've always been plunging into my own version of prosperity, leading with my sacral, as why I called my firm Sacral Capital, and really exploring this planet, exploring different humans and cultures, and plunging into the businesses and those that have created them. Those are what brings my heart joy, and plunging into healing broken systems as well. That's another version of prosperity to me. Is I think that everyone should have the opportunity to be able to feel full abundance in their life. And that's why I created Plunge Into Prosperity and Sacral Capital and Sacral Sisters and Sacral Advisory, is to guide people on those areas: mindset, money, marketing, and healing from within, and removing that fear of money, and stepping into their version of prosperity. And so that's my version.
So that's really incredible. And I've definitely been seeing themes of that throughout the past couple of weeks. I wanted to ask a little specifically. So we talked a little bit about healing those broken systems, the why for what kind of an impact you're trying to make through Sacral Capital and all your work. And so what are some of those systems that you have found need healing right now? And maybe what are some ways that we as an audience can also help and contribute towards making?
Yes. So prior to launching Sacral Capital and knowing where I was going to go with it, I studied why funds fail, why funds succeed, and saw that there was a antiquated system in venture before everyone started talking about it in the media. And then I started looking at what I'm passionate about in all the industries that I've ever worked in, because I've worked with every industry except robotics and live animals. And the four categories that and industries and pillars that I've been focused on, and saw that there was antiquated systems that needed investment or quote unquote healing, repairing. It was aviation, which I'm passionate about it because I fell in love with it as a child, and I started getting my pilot's license, and my goal is to get the rotor helicopter. Consumer health, which I've broadly categorized because it all leads down to one thing, which is our food systems, organic agriculture, precision farming technology, all the way down to the apps that assess us, from your at-home kits to sleep apps to you name it. And then digital infrastructure and infrastructure. So before the world was blowing up on the conversation of data centers and the power and the infrastructure that it sits on and all the tech, I was already plunging into that 3-4 years ago. And I also was a pioneer in inventing the bypass of flare of oil and gas to power Bitcoin mining. So with that being said, like, it's just always been in there, and I've always just seen where we need to take it. And so that's the thesis of my fund, and that's with Sacral Capital, and then Plunge Into Prosperity. I wanted to heal the broken system of women receiving capital. 2.3% of all money allocated 5 years ago went to women around the world. That's trillions of dollars, women-led businesses. And it's dropped in the past 2 years to 1.9%. And so that's pretty sad. And then also my mother, when I was born in 1985, was the first year she could get a business loan, at a bank without a man co-signing. So I created Plunge Into Prosperity also to bring more awareness and create more community around that conversation.
That's really incredible. And this is a lot of stuff that we also talk about on a day-to-day, just making sure that we have the vision and the end of the day, the impact that we want to make clear through everything that we've been working on together every day. So I also did want to touch upon the fact that we've talked about how you've worked in basically every industry other than robotics and live animals and farming. So
Yes.
part of how you're able to make that happen is through pivoting.
Yes.
And we talked about a couple of days ago positive pivoting.
Yes, I remember
So
that.
for our audience, and also, so first, what is positive pivoting?
I just made it up a couple weeks ago. I've always been complimented on my ability to pivot quickly, and I think it did stem from being a professional dancer for 21 years, and that is a dance move, is pivoting. So when applying it into business and in finance, I believe that if you keep hitting the same pattern or same challenge or wall, that's a big sign that you need to pivot. But I pivot quickly because I like to reverse engineer whatever scenario or things that are happening and flip it upside down on its head and see if any change falls out, right? And so to say. And so I just quickly do that. There's also something I recently learned, which was fun, and it's similar to reverse engineering, and it's using it in AI, but it's called, you want to use the word post-mortemness. So whenever you create a nice plan, that is, you're always looking and seeking for the most positive, best outcome. And I am a optimist, but I still am a realist. So I learned the other day that you can apply the two words post-mortemness to anything that you're creating and having AI flip it on its head. So it's much faster solution and answer of what to prepare for and what to prepare to pivot on more quickly.
Interesting. So I also know that a lot of people have this fear of pivoting because they're afraid of, okay, how am I going to start all over again? The sunk cost fallacy. So what is your advice to our viewers as far as, how do you manage those pivots? What's your approach to doing it again and again?
Some of the pivots are forced, so there's no preparing a lot of the times. But when they are forced, it's looking at, okay, what ABC options do I have? Which one is the highest probability? And then that's one way to look at it. I try not to have many backup plans. I tried to stay focused on the one for the time being, but still knowing that I have that ability. I don't think it's like specifically anything that's directly a tool that or a specific thing that I would give the audience, but I believe that if you just constantly are trying new things in life, that creates your brain and your neurons to be able to accept pivotability or accept excitement in different areas, whether that's jumping out of a plane or meditating under a tree, which I do both of those things. That allows your brain and your neurons to think more creatively. Yeah. So just expanding your knowledge base, your wisdom base, trying new things, allowing your body and your energy and your spirit to be able to know that it's okay to try new things because you're still here.
Yes. And then because as a result of all of the different new things that you tried, again, we said that you've worked in basically every single industry except for robotics and live animal science. So, and I think it's really helped through all the meetings that I've attended with you. I've noticed that you've been able to connect with people on so many different things. I think in a previous conversation, I also compared you to Barbie because of all the different experiences you've had. And so,
Pink today.
oh yeah, that was actually perfect. So I also mentioned a book that I read recently called Range: Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized Society. And it talks about
What is it?
range, why generalists triumph in a specialized world.
There we go.
And
Okay.
so it's about how there's this preconceived notion typically, or a version of success that people have, where it's found by sticking to one thing and doing that over and over and over again, specializing in that one thing only. And so this book also opens up the perspective of, okay, but you need to also try out all these different things, become an expert in a diversity of fields, and that will provide value to you and your own experience of diverse but deep and genuine experiences. And others' experiences have also challenged this notion, right? So what are your thoughts on this notion? And then how do you use those perspectives now?
I will take it back to when I owned my own marketing agency, PR, business development. And when clients would be referred to me or leads would be referred to me and they would be a new industry and they're like, well, how would you be able to represent us or get us to growth or get us to launch or rebrand or restructure if you've never worked in this industry? And it was very simple. It all has the same foundation, right? So there wasn't much outside of the cookie cutter of the foundation. Everything has the same foundation. It's just that next layer of going into deeper research on the industry, right? And so at the end of the day, it has the same foundation. It's just your desirability to want to learn about many subjects. I'm a polymath, a bibliophile. So I love reading and I love studying different topics and industries and focuses. I have many certifications because of this. And so, yeah, I believe that's the answer. I enjoyed being a generalist because it allows me to move through different industries and different people. And now, as a venture capital and private equity, a GP of a fund we're launching, I am able to look at companies as a generalist, but then pass on the due diligence to expert advisors. And I learn alongside with them. I don't just pass on to due diligence and then just step away. I like to still get into the sandbox with them, so to say.
Yes. And speaking of, so we talked a little bit about, polymath and then just an engineering mindset. Even through our work together, I've noticed that, we have a very huge emphasis on the numbers, right? We're very scientific, very quantitative, very focused. And so there is this preconceived notion that, science and exact empirical measurements are kind of contradictory or opposing spirituality and belief systems and everything. And so and I also know that you are a very strong proponent of mind body healing, right? Taking a more holistic approach to healing and growth and improvement. And so how do you balance, both being very, very numbers focused, whenever we do due diligence, we're always about how can we quantify this, KPIs.
Yeah.
And so how do you kind of find that imbalance and challenge this notion?
I don't think there's anything to challenge because even in spirit and there's numbers, right? So it doesn't. They're not different to me. They're the same. Yeah, and money to me is energy. So and that's spirit as well. So it's just creating a new. If you're getting the same challenge or problem or pattern, it's recalculating or recreating a new calculation, which at the end of the day is really going inward, right? Yeah.
Interesting. So taking a very quantitative approach towards the qualitative and also like combining a qualitative approach to the quantitative.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
And I think that
Like I always share with you, it's playing tennis.
yes, yes. And I think that kind of sums up a lot of what we do together is very holistic, very like multifaceted, taking various lenses to analyze the same issue in dual perspective so that we're getting a more whole picture. I think even this morning we talked about, listening with your sacral and then running the analysis and then making a decision with your sacral again.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we did talk about that. Yeah, no, I do lead with my gut and my intuition, but even the greatest investors in the world, they say are lead with their intuition, but they always go to data as well in research, but then they go back to their intuition to basically stamp it out, validate it. So, yeah, and even if the path ends up, the choice that you did choose ends up being the wrong one, or the investment ends up being the wrong one, embrace change. I embrace the challenge. I embrace the fail. And we just take that additional data into our next intuitive experience of making investments or choices in our life.
Yep. And then speaking of investments and dealing with change, a lot of what the fund is about is staying ahead of change and being prepared for what's coming. And so, for our listeners, for people who are looking to invest, what are some trends right now or signals that you think a smart investor should keep on top of mind for change that might be upcoming and staying prepared?
I already went over the pillars that we've discussed. I'd like to dive and take a plunge deeper into women. I'm not a super feminist by any means. I really respect and have gratitude for the men that are in my life as investors and advisors and partners, etc. Although, like I shared with you before, some data on women, but also there's a huge wealth transfer that's about to happen because of the legacy of money in families and the way in which women have stepped up in their careers in the past 20 years, and the availability of needing to diversify their wealth. And we need to be prepared for that conversation, because those women may have been quieted in their families, but now they're leading the families. And there have been passings of grandparents and grandfathers and fathers and so forth, and women are living a little longer. So it's a sensitive topic, although it's needing to be shared. So that's why I created Sacral Sisters. I was one to educate and create a safe space for women to talk about how they can invest or how they can diversify or educate themselves on finance terms in general, support each other in growing each other's businesses. I'll give an example. One of my growth advisory clients, she's also an investor. We're going to be investing in her business. She wanted to restructure or make sure her current trust was set up properly, because she's going to be acquiring a lot of family land. And so it just so happened inside of our Sacral Sisters community and investors, we have a trust attorney. Bless you. We have a trust attorney in our Sacral Sisters and investors community. They had never met in person before because the events I had done, one or either of them were not in attendance or were new. And so that's just the beauty in Sacral Sisters and the SPV, the special purpose vehicle that I've created so that we can continue this conversation and community support. And they're going to be they're investing together on my cap table for the fund. And some of the areas they know and are familiar with that we're investing in, some of them are new to them. And I commend a lot of the women that took the plunge into going into Sacral Sisters, because it's not removing fear or not letting fear dictate your possible future version of prosperity.
Yeah.
So
I think that's really incredible, just the power that a network has to then, learning and growing with other people, right? To support each other rather than taking it as a competition. I think that's really incredible for the opportunities that it can provide an individual. And I think the way that it's been managed with the Sacral Sisters SPV is really, really cool. And then, so speaking of connecting with women, finding those people in your life, I have learned quite a lot in these past couple of weeks, not just about finance, but also how to manage life as a person. I'm starting out my career. I'm a college student right now. So
where are you going to college again?
I go to UT Austin. I'm studying finance.
You got to represent.
Yes.
And where did we meet?
We actually met at a conference at UT Austin. It was the private equity conference.
Texas Private Equity Conference. Yes.
The Texas Private Equity Conference.
And I got on the microphone and the men were not happy about it.
Yes, I think it was the very first panel. Yours was the very first question. And afterwards I ran into you and I thought, wow, your outfit was really great. And then also I thought, okay, this is a really inspiring question that you asked about the actual technology and how it's going to be implemented. And so that's how we were able to
on
connect.
data centers. Yeah.
Yes. Data centers. And now here we are.
Yes, here we are.
But speaking of having those figures in your life, those mentors who are able to then provide direction, has there been anyone in your life who's kind of inspired, or have there been any experiences that you've pulled from that helped you shape the way that you found your prosperity today?
Well, my father is an entrepreneur, so I would say the entrepreneur bug came from him. Then it moved. My mother, obviously, she made a lot of great decisions, hard decisions, to make sure that she showed us what the version of prosperity is to us and to her. We came from nothing. I was born in a trailer, and then we ended up having all the toys that you would want in a family, boats and things and RVs and things. And then my dance teachers, of course, one of my teachers in high school, but I was in an academy within my high school, so Academy of Finance and Entrepreneurship, where you took courses from UF in high school, University of Florida. So I was a year ahead. And so a particular teacher, she knows who she is. And then it moved into later in my career, Edward Devalle. He owned America's Media Group Worldwide. Then it became 3W. And he now is a hotel developer. He was tough with me, and it was Miami, and I was having fun. And I was young, and I was showing up late, maybe a little buzzed from the night before, and he put me back in check. He reminded me what it was like to have somebody who saw greatness in me but wanted me to step it up. And so I oversaw a lot of the Trump Properties campaigns, and we worked on JetBlue and Avianca and stuff. And so I had a big responsibility at a young age. And he still someone that if I need to call, I'm sure he'll answer. And then as of recently, my advisors on the fund and investors, Seth Wilson, Bhakti, my performance coach and healer, who we'll probably get to interview soon, Dr. Latan. Let's see, all the women. I mean, even though they are investing in me and I'm going to be investing in them, we're just great support and great advisors to each other. We're always navigating new mindsets and new ways of thinking. And yeah, it's beautiful. So there's a lot.
Yeah, I think it's really incredible how, like, there's so many different people in our lives that end up touching us, and then we are able to then pull from, or not pull from, but like take what we have learned and then move on and kind of make something great
Yeah.
with it. And then to sum it all up, to wrap it all up, so as I'm a student, UT Austin, I'm studying finance, starting my career, learning all about what's going on. What is your advice to someone starting, just in general, starting your career, learning how to navigate the world, or even your advice to 20-year-old Brandi? What would you have to say?
I would say don't take life too seriously. I don't regret, and I would never take back my desirability to be bouncing around and bubbly and taking lead of my own little life then. And then, but also still taking every chance you get. I was auditioning for Orlando Magic, Universal Studios. I decided to go from Gainesville back to Orlando and transfer and take on those and experiences. They wouldn't have landed me where I was. I was a property manager in college in Orlando because I was a leasing agent at age 16. My parents encouraged me to have a job like that when I was younger. And there's just I would just say take on as many experiences as possible, because again, it will allow you, like I said earlier, to be able to have more understanding of what really is calling you into where you want to go. And just following what you want to do. Don't care. I'm going to curse. Don't give a shit about what other people think about you. That is another one of my big goals that I've always strived to achieve. Of course, I'm compassionate and considerate about my surroundings, and I'm communicative where I need to be. Although if people want to have their comments about me, I know that I have a moral standing, and I will always get back to those that have helped, even if they might not see it now. So, yeah.
That sounds really incredible. And I hope that all of us are able to take these opportunities to then plunge into our prosperity as well.
Yes. And Arundhati, thank you so much for being a light in my life and you're a huge pivoter. You wear a million hats with me, and it's been an honor to have you on, and your parents raised you really well. And I look forward to meeting them one day too.
It will be soon. Thank you so much for sharing all that I've learned these past couple of weeks. I've seen completely new perspectives that I didn't really expect coming into a job. And I think one of the things that I've always been looking for is what a real working experience looks like. And you've always been really transparent with me, always very open about what are we dealing with. And I really, really appreciate, and I think everyone who's worked on Sacral Capital, anyone who's been an investor, has seen that it's really a collaborative experience about how are we going to work together to accomplish this, rather
that's
than
the important part.
Exactly. So yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Arundhati. It's a pleasure. Namaste. Yeah. All right. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for plunging into sacred wisdom and regenerative wealth with us. If your soul and your portfolio just got a glow up, hit subscribe on YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. Share it with your crew. Tag us on social and join the movement at plungeintoprosperity.com. I'm Brandi Kolosky. Catch you on the next plunge.